Now I'm going to show you how to work example 4a part A, which we're going to keep the same function we've been using, but we're going to find f of x plus h. I am out of room on this page, and so I've written a note here that we're just going to start this example on the next page. Okay, so I've already written down the original function. So this is how it was presented. We did write it down in kind of a broken down fashion to help with the exponents here. So I've got that down. And now we're just going to work to find f of x plus h. Okay, this is very similar to what we did in part 7. In part 7, you had to find f of x plus 1. So it's going to be very, very similar. Here, if we look what's inside the parentheses, that is what we're going to replace x with. So we're going to replace each instance of x with x plus h. Okay, h is just a variable, and I'll write that down. H is just a variable. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, again, since I am replacing x with something, I am going to defer to using the blue statement here, okay, where I've broken down the exponents. Okay, I'm trying to avoid any issues with exponents because of this negative sign that's out front. Okay, so here we go. F of x plus h, let's work through our function here. This negative sign is going to stay out front. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put it down. I'm going to highlight it in green so you can track it. And then I need to replace my first instance of x with x plus h. X plus h is a package deal. Okay, so there's the x and the h, are adding them together. That negative sign is eventually going to have to get distributed. So you need to put it in parentheses or it will not come out correctly. Okay, so we've got negative x times x. So we need to replace the second x here with x plus h. And then we move on. So the next term here is going to be plus 2x. So we're going to do plus 2. Instead of multiplying by x, we're going to multiply by the package deal x plus h. And then we're going to tack on the minus 4. Okay, this is how you set it up. Okay, you go to the original function. Everywhere you see an x, you need to replace it with the package deal x plus h. The harder part comes when you're simplifying this. Okay, so let's try to do that. Okay, all right, let's start with this first part where you have negative times x plus h times x plus h. Okay, just like we did when we were working in part 7, we looked at this and said, hey, I've got 3 different things I'm multiplying together. We're going to multiply 2 of them together and then multiply the last one through. Okay, we are again going to do the x plus h times the x plus h first. We're going to multiply those things together and then we'll send the negative sign through. Okay, so I'm going to go out to the side and I'm going to make my box thing to multiply x plus h times x plus h. Okay, all of the pieces are positive, so we don't need any negative signs here. Make your 4 boxes here. Each pair has to get multiplied together. Remember, everything's a variable here. X times x is x squared. X times h is x times h. And then down here, if you did h times x, that's the same thing as x times h. When you multiply, order doesn't matter. If I do 2 times 3, it's the same thing as 3 times 2. Okay? And then lastly, h times h is h squared. All right, so these 4 pieces make up x plus h times x plus h. So let's go write it down. Okay, my negative sign, haven't touched it. It's going to stay out front. And now I need to write down the result of x plus h times x plus h. All 4 pieces have to come. Okay, so you need to put them in parentheses. You need to write in parentheses the result of the multiplication because that negative sign is going to have to get distributed through. Okay, so I'm going to write everything down. X squared plus x times h plus another x times h plus h squared. Okay, all of these guys are positive, so we're adding them all up. Okay, all right, so then if we move on to the 2 times x plus h, we have a plus sign in the parentheses, so that means we need to distribute here. We're going to send the 2 through to both pieces. So this is going to be plus 2 times x plus 2 times h. And then lastly, tack on the minus 4. Okay, in the next step, okay, we need to take this minus sign and distribute it through the parentheses. So we're going to have to send the negative sign here, 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 and here. Remember, if you're sending the negative sign through, it just basically changes the sign of everything in parentheses. So we're going to get negative x squared minus xh minus xh minus h squared. Okay, we're done with the negative sign, okay, because the parentheses are over. So now we need to write down the rest of this. So we'll have our plus 2x plus 2h and then the minus 4. All right, so we are done pretty much. The only thing that's left is to combine like terms. Okay, again, that means you need to combine x squareds with x squareds, x's with x's, h's with h's, xh's with xh's, h squareds with h squareds. Basically, you can only combine things that have the same exact variable pieces. Okay, it's got to be the exact same variable piece. And of course, you can combine numbers with numbers. Okay, so let's start here. I'm going to scratch them out after I use them, okay, because there's kind of a lot going on here. So right here, I've got a negative x squared. I don't see anything else that has an x squared. Okay, so that won't combine with anything else. I'm going to write it down, scratch it out. Okay, you're just adding and subtracting here, so it doesn't matter what order everything goes in. So next thing, I see an xh piece. Okay, do I have another xh piece? Yes, right here. Okay, so I can combine these two guys. Okay, nothing else has an x times h. All right, just add the numbers in front. -1 times -1. That means you're going to have -2 of them. Okay, so this is going to combine to be -2xh. I'm going to scratch them out because I used them. Okay, and then next we've got, let's see, the negative h squared. Okay, there's nothing else that has an h squared. Okay, so we've got to write it down. Okay, we've used it, get rid of it. Okay, and then out of what's left, I've got an x, an h, and a 4. None of these terms are alike. Okay, so you're not going to be able to combine them with anything, so we can just write them down. Okay, this is a really long answer, but it's the answer. This is f of x plus h. Okay, do not blow this off. You have to know how to do this. At the end of this section, you are going to learn something called the difference quotient. Okay, so if you are given any function, you have to be able to form what's called its difference quotient. Part of the difference quotient is f of x plus h. Okay, so you may have to form this quantity f of x plus h for certain functions. Okay, so you've got to be able to recognize it. If you see it, that means wherever you see x, you're going to replace it with x plus h and then simplify. Okay, it is going to be key in finding the difference quotient. And like I said, that's the very last thing you will see in this section.